Our group studied ethics within the food industry this semester. The U.S. food industry, a $5 trillion sector, has a profound global impact. The food we consume is tied to environmental issues like global climate change and crop diversity, health and safety risks like cancer and obesity rates, and social cultural issues like food sovereignty and animal rights. Through our research, we interrogated how various players within the U.S. food industry handle the ethical implications of their business practices. Given the size of this field, we decided to break the food industry into 4 distinct topics: the health food industry, restaurants, GMOs, and government policy. To better evaluate businesses within these fields, we developed our own food ethics rubric.
As our topics varied, our rubric had to focus on worst-case scenarios. We believe that enlightened businesses are cognizant of their employees, their customers, and the world, instead of just their bottom line. This is reflected in our rubric with the 3 major requirements of workers' rights, sustainable practices, and the health and safety of customers. In the category of workers' rights, companies must comply with basic practices such as no child labor, no forced labor, and no discrimination of any kind. In addition, our rubric requires that workers must receive a living wage that does not include tips. In the category of sustainable practices, companies and their supply chains must use sustainable farming techniques that protect the environment, public health, human communities, and animal welfare. Companies must have a stated commitment to sustainability and actively work to reduce their production of greenhouse gases, food waste, and food packaging. In the category of customer health and safety, companies must be transparent in their sourcing and labeling. There must be clear labeling for expiration dates, GMOs, carcinogens, and food allergies. Additionally, food, diets, and health plans must be scientifically verified before claims of health benefits are made. My subtopic is the health food industry. This is an important topic because there is a $1 trillion global market for organic, allergen-free, and better-for-you foods in 2017. This wellness industry includes healthy eating, nutrition, and weight loss companies. The question is, are these companies actually making a difference in the health of their customers, their employees, and the world? Enlightened entrepreneurs in the health food industry have to meet these requirements in order to pass our rubric for the food industry. A company that scores well on our rubric is Whole Foods. Whole Foods has committed to responsibly grown food, meaning they focus on waste reduction, healthy soil, water conservation, and reducing air pollution. In terms of workers' rights, Whole Foods involves third-party auditing programs to make sure farmers work in safe conditions for fair compensation. Whole Foods also does well on our requirement of consumer safety. They have a large list of unacceptable food ingredients, as well as a commitment to transparent ingredients and clear labeling. A company that scores poorly is Blue Apron, a meal kit service. Blue Apron has a large commitment to sustainability as their goal is to cut out the waste and environmental costs of wholesalers, food warehouses, and grocery stores. However, their biggest environmental problem is the huge amount of packaging used in every kit, and with only 2 distribution centers, food has to be shipped cross-country using a large amount of fossil fuels. Where Blue Apron fails is its workers' rights. In a 2-week period, Blue Apron had 9 safety violations for fractured bone, chemical burns, and more. Since the Blue Apron factory opened, there have been at least 4 bomb threats by employees and many counts of assault. Blue Apron also threatens the health of customers with major violations regarding the sanitization of food surfaces.
My area of focus within our team's category of food ethics is restaurants. My research explored what enlightened entrepreneurship looks like in the restaurant industry. In my opinion, an enlightened restaurant is one that sustainably sources its ingredients, provides fair and just treatment for all workers, and supplies living wages for its employees. To help illustrate my findings, we will look at 2 businesses, one who scores well on our rubric, and one who is not as successful. Shake Shack is a fast food burger chain founded by New York restaurateur Danny Meyer. Having grown from a single hot dog cart in Central Park, Shake Shack is now an international chain with nearly 150 locations. Throughout this growth, they've been able to preserve strong ethical values around sourcing and employee treatment. Outlined in a public document on their animal welfare policy, Shake Shack has committed to 100% cage-free eggs, no animal abuse on their farms, and no antibiotics or hormones in their proteins. Further, they have focused their menu on non-beef options like veggie burgers and chicken burgers in an effort to push more environmentally friendly food options. For their employees, benefits include access to health insurance, 401k matching, stipends for commuting costs, and pay for all workers above minimum wage. They've also won industry awards for their high levels of employee engagement and satisfaction. On the other hand, McDonald's is a company that scores much worse on our food ethics rubric. They lag behind Shake Shack with their sourcing standards. While they have created pilot programs for sourcing sustainable beef, McDonald's only purchases a portion of their beef from these operations. They do not say how much a portion is, which leads us to assume it is only a fraction of their beef sourcing. Further, McDonald's says they hope to switch to cage-free eggs by 2025, which is something Shake Shack has already done. Importantly, all sustainability info on their website links directly to product pages. When taken with their subpar sustainability standards, this seems like a classic example of greenwashing to sell more product. On the employee side, wages average $8.50, which is well below Shake Shack's $11. Last, their employees have publicly complained about treatment on the job. In a 2015 Guardian article, McDonald's employees were found to have high rates of workplace accidents due to understaffing and high demands. In fact, some workers were even told to treat burns with condiments. Clearly, this is not a safe work environment.
When the story comes to the supply chain of food, it is unavoidable that GMOs will be involved in the conversation. And one company that we're probably all familiar with that is closely associated with the GMO seed production is Monsanto. An article claims that Monsanto would never be able to be environmentally sustainable because part of being sustainable includes minimizing or eliminating agricultural chemicals, as synthetic fertilizers and pesticides decimate soil microbes. While the World Health Organization claims that not all GMOs are harmful to our health, Monsanto has not done a good job in making sure that their customers are not harmed. They reported to have a collusion with EPA management to keep on market a product that contained glyphosate. It is a Class C substance that was shown by studies to be oncogenic in male mice and cause breeder tubules in adults-related manner. On the other side, Monsanto claims in their annual sustainable report that they support one system that provides clear, consistent information to help people make decisions about their food they eat. In addition, Monsanto has a terrible history of worker treatment. When their workers leave the fields, many return to housings riddled with health and safety hazards. Compared to the vague statements that Monsanto makes, Whole Foods sustainability statements are supported by clear data. They believe that customers have the right to know what's in the food, and they were the first national grocery chain committed to providing GMO transparency. Their mission is to offer highest quality, least processed, most flavorful, and naturally preserved foods. They currently offer more than 30,000 organic and 13,500 non-GMO project verified products. Their 42% reduction in waste was profiled by the EPA as a construction waste reduction and recycling record setter. In addition, Whole Foods is also committed to educating their customers, sustainability, and the respect for all forms of life. While all this data shows how fantastic Whole Foods is, they still failed in ensuring workers' rights. They were sued for disability discrimination by their former workers, and other discrimination cases were reported on an individual basis.
Government policies on food practices can have a profound impact on businesses within the U.S. as well as farmers globally. One example in particular is the EPA's settlement with Whole Foods that incentivized better waste management practices. During a year-long investigation, the EPA found Whole Foods improperly identified and mishandled hazardous waste at company facilities throughout Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, and Oklahoma. Because they did not follow the rules of the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, Whole Foods had to pay $3.5 million and promote hazardous waste compliance in the retail industry as part of a supplemental environmental project. As a part of the settlement with Texas facilities, Whole Foods will create and fund a program to educate Texas retailers, particularly smaller businesses about hazardous waste laws and the importance of maintaining compliance. This program, worth $500,000, aims to raise awareness of business owners' responsibilities and increase compliance with regulations, and will result in environmental benefit to communities. The EPA investigates businesses such as Whole Foods through a comprehensive compliance monitoring program, which includes inspecting facilities, reviewing records, and taking enforcement action where necessary. As you can see, government policies incentivize businesses to use sustainable food practices. Nevertheless, there are policies within the U.S. that affect farmers in developing nations. Farm commodity and related subsidies reduce world prices, especially when prices are already low. U.S. commodity policies include farm income subsidies, producer price support through government payments and guaranteed purchases, subsidized yield and revenue insurance, and related efforts. All these subsidies stimulate the output of program crops in the United States by increasing expected revenues and smoothing returns. However, this can depress world prices and reduce farmer incomes in poor countries. One example is the U.S. cotton program, in which a typical small cotton farm would have gained more than $100 per year if the U.S. programs had not depressed cotton prices. In poorer countries where farmers are making $1 to $2 a day, $100 can add additional income, which can significantly affect the living standards of these farmers.
As you can probably tell, we agreed that Whole Foods is one of the most enlightened companies. It scored well on our rubric from the three perspectives of GMO labeling, the health foods industry, and public policy. The food industry has such a large impact on industries and life outside of the food industry, so we have to be aware of not just immediate impacts, but the impacts beyond. Companies that are doing well, like Whole Foods, are aware of their reach and the examples they can set and enforce. While there are hundreds of ways to evaluate a company, we think workers' rights, sustainable practices, and the health and safety of customers is a good place to start.